Okay. Testing the sound of my mic um, over the music. I'm sure the music is way loud right now. Let's turn that down. All right. Hopefully it sounds okay. music here. And we're gonna get right into it. We're gonna cover the Board of Supervisors meeting from San Bernardino County. Maybe try to cover the meeting. I need to look into Riverside County to see if that's. I'm sure they have meetings as well, and I would like to start covering them too. So let's go ahead and get started.
The courage to move forward.
In 2018, almost 3 years after the attack, the San Bernardino County December 2nd Legacy Report was published. It was intended to be a publicly available resource for communities and organizations that must respond and recover from similar situations. Already, that report is helping other families and other communities learn from your experience.
So, looks like just the starting of whatever event they had here. It might just be promo material, honestly. Okay, let's just fast forward through this. Let's see what this little promo is.
While I was living wasn't very conducive to family, and I decided I needed to do something different. So that's actually started steps towards me changing my entire lifestyle.
Our officers are trained to establish a dialogue with the people involved. Through these conversations, we can gain a better understanding of their circumstances. This allows us to ensure people don't feel trapped or stuck in their circumstance. By connecting them with the right resources, we help them take steps towards a safer and more stable living situation.
2008, we got our house. I remember the first time I saw the two halves on the property and I started to cry. It was actually my very first home ever, and it's still our home today.
All right, so to recap it, last time we went over
and I reached in my pocket and pulled out
talking about Dawn Rowe appointed herself as chair of the Board of Supervisors again. And yeah, so that was January. We skipped the February one, or I don't know if there was a February one, but here we are in the first March meeting, I think. Okay, they're probably going to start with their prayer if they haven't already.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to call this meeting to order and thank you all for being here today. This morning, our Pledge of Allegiance and invocation will be led by the 4th District.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. I get the great honor to introduce a good friend of mine, Pastor Mike Spradlin. Pastor Mike Spradlin has been the lead pastor for over 20 years. Men and women at Court of Christ have
no offense to this pastor, but we're just gonna skip through. We're here for the news, not the pomp and circumstance.
A couple people I want to highlight: Ray Allard, who was born on December. Many person.
All right.
I'd like to ask Dawn Johnson to please join us.
After that, we do awards.
Recognition and later advancing to the role of automated systems analyst. He has significantly contributed.
Good job, homie.
And other things within the county.
Give it to him.
Oh man, another award. Okay, let's see if they're finally gonna get into it now. we might just bump up the speed. Let's give them a like. Yeah, we just might bump up the speed here.
All right, we will now move on to our reports from County Council. Tom?
Thank
Never
you, Madam
mind.
Chair. There are no reportable items from closed session.
And reports from our CEO, Luther.
And good morning, Madam Chair. Nothing to report this morning. Thank you.
Very good. That brings us
That's
to our
a
individual
fourth
board
meeting in
member
a
comments. Let's
row
start
that
with
he's had
our vice chair.
nothing
Yeah, thank
to
you, Madam Chair.
report.
Just want to highlight a few
And I'm talking
items,
about
from the agenda. I think
our
important. Really wanna
favorite
thank our staff.
CEO,
The first one is item 33.
Luther Snoke.
To upgrade 3 mobile healthcare units. Really want to thank Public Health for providing more mobile services, making sure that the county is more accessible to the community. And one of the great things that they've done is they provided a mobile dental service, which is great. They could provide it to schools, nonprofits, and other organizations, and just great services throughout the county. So hats off to Public Health. The other item is item 38. I want to thank Public Works for establishing a speed limit on Easton and Rialto between Cactus and Lilac. And what happened is when the city of Rialto built the Rialto Renaissance, traffic really increased through this corridor. And just really want to thank Public Works for establishing a speed limit for the amount of work. Item 39 is a Public Works street project. I want to thank Madam Chair, working together collaboratively to make sure that we have streets repaired in all of unincorporated Colton. So in the area that she represents near Ritchie Canyon, and also in the 5th District in the center of Colton, those roads are to get rehabilitated, which is a great project for our unincorporated area. And the last item I want to highlight on the agenda is item 48. I really want to thank the San Bernardino City Unified School District for becoming a partner, and we're actually putting a fire station on a school campus. It's actually probably the first of its kind, I think, in our county. Just a great relationship. This action will allow us to expand the footprint, working closely with the school district and our San Bernardino County Fire Department. It's just going to be a great project. It's going to upgrade our fire stations in our committee. And I want to thank Madam Chair for having the opportunity to be appointed to the San Bernardino International Airport Authority, which is right here in San Bernardino. One of the things that one of the goals of SABIA is to really increase flights here in the San Bernardino area. I know many people go to Ontario and Los Angeles, but hopefully this can increase the amount of flights that we have in our community. So look forward to being involved in that process. I just want to highlight a few events. Last board meeting, we had Government Day. We had 100 students from 3 school districts here participating, and I tell you, the great thing about the students was the engagement, the questions they asked, and these are our future leaders. Our time is limited here, and hopefully someday we get future leaders that can come through here. I want to thank Public Works for installing equestrian signs in the Muscoy community. We got a request from a resident that said, hey, you know what, we have a lot of horses. Can you install some equestrian signs? So as a result, Public Works installed 6 equestrian signs. I want to thank Trevor and his team for doing a tremendous job on that. Also, what they did in Muscoy is created a no parking zone on Portola, which was given to us by a constituent from our community. And another item that Public Works did is they completed basketball lights in Kessler Park, which is one of our county special district parks. Want to give a shout out to Caltrans in one of our unincorporated areas of the Del Rosa community. A lot of homeless there. A lot of the fences get cut through and damaged there, which impacts visually for many of our county residents that live in that county pocket in Del Rosa. But Caltrans went out and completed them and fixed them. And a couple more things. Just want to invite everyone to the Kessler Field ribbon cutting this Friday, 6 p.m. at Kessler Park. It's a $3.3 million investment. I know that our county staff had a softball game last Friday to kind of break the field in. I think Trevor Leisha had the first home run ever at Kessler Park. I'm jealous it wasn't me, but congratulations,
Wow,
Trevor.
I'm
No,
so
it's
happy
gonna be a great event. I'm looking forward to Lee
for
Lacey and
Kessler
Steve
Park.
Garvey coming out and welcoming all the kids and families, but it's a great investment. And the last thing is, one of the things our office does every year, it's the 5th year doing it, is we have our Shero recognition. We recognize and highlight, many women from the 5th District that have done tremendous things. One is Toni Calicott. She's the president of the San Bernardino Municipal Water District. We recognize Sergeant Patty Ruiz, who's a sergeant with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, but also her family lives in Muscoy, and she's from Muscoy. Stephanie Vargas, she's a Colton City clerk, but also a resident of Rosina Ranch. And Nuria Valencia, she's from Bloomington, very active with the Girl Scouts. We recognize her as our super mom. And the last one was Danielle Townshend. She founded executive directors, Curls, Coins, and Crowns, which is a nonprofit that helps bring self-esteem of women up. So I just want to shout out to those and congratulate those recipients. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Armendariz.
Thank you, Chair. I want to start with letting everybody know we held our first community resource fair in the city of Fontana. We believe it was a huge success. We had over 150 people attend, came out and were able to get resources and learn more about the departments in the county. I want to thank everyone who participated from the county, who were able to make all this happen. We got a lot of compliments from the public because they were able to learn a little bit more of what we do as a county. And not only did they walk away with resources, they were actually had some services on the spot that they were able to obtain. So I just want to thank everyone at the county who showed up and participated in our resource fair. It helped them get a better understanding of what we do. Second, I also represented us in DC as our delegate for the National Association of Counties Legislative Conference.
I think that's NACO.
You know, it was a great opportunity for me to be able to speak to our legislators and advocate for the county. I wanted to take a moment to thank Congresswoman Norma Torres, Congresswoman Judy Chu, Congresswoman Young Kim, Congressman Jay Obernolte, Congressman Raul Weiss, Congressman Pete Aguilar, and Senator Schiff for taking the time to meet with us and just discuss the issues that were most impactful to the county and get their
Adam Schiff
assurance that
got
they
to
were
meet
going to
with
work
him?
with us and cooperate with us on the things that we're trying to accomplish.
Find out a little bit about that.
I want to thank the county board for entrusting me with the responsibility of being able to go out there and advocate on our behalf. And it was a great privilege, and hopefully I spread the word for the county. Also attended the Cypress Storm Drain groundbreaking and also the Upland Manor Comedy Night with my family, which was very eventful, almost like Whose Line It Is It Anyway fundraiser for the Upland Manor. And lastly, we will be having our next event hosting, it is called Community with the Supervisor, which it's at a tea shop. Will be held on March 27th from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m.
I think that's great. Even the
We'll
Board of
see you there
Supervisors
at,
are starting to do tea with whoever, coffee with your professor,
look
blah,
up
blah,
on the
blah,
website to
community
get the information
tea.
on where to go for those who are attending. And we'll be talking about the concerns and issues in our community and how we can find an opportunity to partner and be better advocates for our residents. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you. Supervisor Cook. Supervisor Hagman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A few things. First of all, it's not bring your wife to work day, but I did bring mine for the first time in I think it's only her second appearance in over a decade. So my wife.
Oh my God,
Rosanna,
please tell
thank
me
you for
we get
coming
a
today,
shot
seeing
of
what
her,
we're doing here.
please.
She's usually working herself, so I was able to steal away for that for one day. A couple reports from some of the boards I represent San Bernardino on, IEHB, Inland Empire Health Plan. We had Jesse, first of all, welcome aboard. And Madam Chair, we miss you over there. So we were forced to take new photos because of that. So
Sorry.
yeah, and Jesse was like twitching the whole time, so we kept out. No, but we've actually, yeah, a half hour into we got our new board photo. We're really watching the legislative changes here on the federal government. We do enroll insurance for over 2.3 million residents of San Bernardino and Riverside with a budget that exceeds over $11 billion now. It's quite a large organization, I think second or largest in the nation. But obviously with the federal government trimming and changing things, we are making contingency plans if those funds do not come through the way that has been in the past. So a lot of prepping and preparing for that going forward. IHP recently gave $1.2 million to First Five for the Healthy Steps program designed to enhance health among the children 0 to 5 years old. So congratulations, First Five, for that. And the district is a busy couple weeks. We spoke to Upland Chamber on February 27th and Greater Ontario Business Council. And that was also an appearance and a speaking on that. We're partnering up with Cardenas Foundation on high school or college scholarship program. So we want to say thank you for that organization for stepping up and providing scholarships to our youth to go into college. We also highlighted Ismara Sashimi and Sushi in Upland for being the honored distinguished business of the month. And we're partnering with the city of Chino Hills for a shredding event on March 29th, from 9 to 12 at the shops in Chino Hills. If you'd like further information, please contact my field office. Upcoming events, we have Ontario State of City on 3/19.
All right. So,
Public safety on 3/20.
interesting that
Family Day in Chino on 3/15.
Supervisor
Expo on 3/15.
Armendariz is on the IHP board now. Like what's up with that? That's, I don't know. It's just weird. Like, and to hear that Don had also served on the board before. I mean, I know it's supposed to be like that to an extent, but it's just like, um how does someone else get to serve on the IHP board? Like, is it only people who have connections with other people who are on that board? It's just weird. I mean, they publish their agenda. Huh. I wonder if these are. Oh yeah, any member of the public may observe the scheduled proceedings by using the links listed. Click here to join the virtual meeting. Oh dang. Okay, another board of meetings that we could react to. Um that's pretty cool. Cuz we should be looking into that because a lot of people depend on Medicare and that's what primarily IHP does. Cool. All right. So anyways, back to the actual meeting.
And CBWCD Open House and Student Showcase in Montclair on 3/20. I'm also representing as President SCAG, Southern California in Sacramento for the 2 days. I believe it's on the 18th and 19th too for our Ledge Days up in Sacramento. And that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. We had a great opportunity as of last month to have a collaboration between two county departments. We have our Department of Aging and Adult Services and our Department of Veterans Affairs who have collaborated to bring services out to the Barstow and the surrounding areas. And so we will now have a Veteran Services Officer out there for assistance with benefits and disability claims on the third Thursday of every month.
That's pretty
from
good.
9 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon. And I just want to thank both of those departments for working together. It is really hard for Barstow residents to make it down either to the Victor Valley area or down here to San Bernardino. And so that collaboration really aids in all of them and provides a necessary service to those who have served our country. So thank you very much. And with that, we will move on to our agenda. Linda, do we have any changes or revisions to today's agenda?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Yes, we have one change today on item number 14. The revision is to correct the vendor's name to T.R.L. Systems Incorporated. The rest of the recommendation remains unchanged. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, do we have any board members wishing to disclose a conflict of interest? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to our consent calendar that today consists of items 2 through 52. Any Board of Supervisor wishing to pull an item for discussion or make a comment? Seeing none, I have no request to speak, so all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. With that, the consent calendar passes unanimously.
Very good. Our discussion calendar today consists of item number 53. It is the 2025-2026 fee workshop being presented this morning by Matthew Erickson.
Oh man,
morning.
CFO of the county.
Good morning, Paloma. I should introduce Paloma as well.
Oh, no.
Thank you.
All right. Sorry. Okay. Good morning, Chair Rao, members of the board. My name is Matthew Erickson with County Finance. Today, we are going to be presenting the 25-26 recommended fee workshop for you today. With me is Ms. Paloma Hernandez-Barker. She's the Deputy Executive Officer. She's going to be helping present with me as well today. She's over our fee process. Before jumping in too far into the actual workshop, I did want to take a moment to thank everybody that has worked so hard on the fee process. Behind me, you will see many department heads here, department staff. They've been working very hard for a long time now, preparing fee documents for your review. Along with that, I have my staff here, my finance analysts that do a lot of review for this, along with Paloma, who's kind of the head of that process. And I did want to do a shout out to Jessica Trio. She's a principal analyst in my office that also helps oversee this process. What we're doing today is no action before the board. This is really our first step to kind of go over some notable budget fee changes for you. We are not looking to take any action, but if you happen to have any questions on any notable fee changes, we're here to help address those questions. So next slide, please. Wanted to take a moment to go over our fee program with you. So in accordance with County Policy 0501, it's the board's policy to recover the full cost of services that we provide that are tied to fees in particular. Did want to just take a real quick moment to say a fee is not the same thing as a tax. A fee is something tied to specific services that we're providing for our residents. It has to be tied exactly to the cost of the services we're providing, and that's what we seek to do through this process. The way by which we seek to recover fees is through really a process. We do not look to update every single fee every single year. There's a lot of them, and so we ask departments to approach them by looking at fees that haven't been reviewed within the last 3 years. And so for this fee cycle, we're looking at any fee that hadn't been reviewed prior to fiscal year 22-23. That's what departments would have been looking at to see if there would need to be updates. In addition to that, we ask departments to focus in on high volume related fees. We're not necessarily asking them to look at things that they don't really charge out very often, but we want to make sure that if a department has a lot of costs associated with a particular fee and they're dependent on a revenue, that they are recovering fees associated with that. And then lastly, in accordance with some direction we've been given from the board over the past, we do encourage departments to conduct, basically comparison analysis with other entities or do market studies to make sure that not only are we recovering enough, but also if there's areas of savings potentially. We'll look at other jurisdictions and see if they're doing something maybe different than us. We like to see if there's any efficiencies that may be created as a result of that. Next slide, please. Real quickly, just very big picture, I did want to highlight that fee revenue itself is not a very big component of our revenue for the county budget as a whole. It actually only represents a little, actually less than 3% of the entire budget at $251 million. For this year, we're asking for net
Then
interest
how does the
48
county make
fees, which is an
the rest
increase
of the money
95, offset by the deletion of 47.
if the
Next
services
slide.
that they're providing is only
For a new
rendering
slide that we
them
wanted to go over this
3%
year,
of
just want to go
their
real
actual
briefly over the
budget? Like,
process that we have.
I don't know how much
As I mentioned,
of
a lot of work has
how
gone into
much the
that. It
state
actually starts
compensates
around
them, and if
September,
there's any federal.
each year, and so
I
our
mean, not
departments
compensates,
begin reviewing
allows them.
all the fees that they have. They start looking at potential revisions that they want to make for the year, and then what they do is they submit it in November to my office. My staff begin reviewing those, asking questions, ensuring that when there's large fee increases that we're understanding really well what may or may not be happening and why. If there's not, just kind of understanding to make sure we're recovering full cost. And then that makes its way all the way up to the publishing of a fee document that we present for your review a couple weeks before this workshop for your review. Today is the fee workshop.
I
As
think
I
that's going to
mentioned,
be the 25th.
this is really just the first step, no direction being taken, but 2 weeks from now, we are planning to have our fee hearing on March 25th. That would be the real first action that we would take. Hopefully, if you have any changes in between now and that time, we can make some changes for you if you need it, and that would be the first reading, followed by a second reading on April 8th. And so that at that point, they would be adopted
All
and
right,
go into
we'll
effect
make sure
next
to
fiscal
cover
year.
the fee
Besides regional
hearing because
parks
I think
that
that's
needs to
kind of
get ready
important.
a little bit early for the summer season, theirs would be adopted as of May 10th. With that, next slide. Paloma is going to jump in and go over a lot of the highlighted fees that we have for you, a lot of the different departments. She's going to do a broad overview, not too detailed oriented. That being said, if you happen to have any questions on any of the departments' fee changes that you'd like to find out more about, as I mentioned, we have department heads here that can really help answer some detailed questions. So with that,
I
I'll turn it
wonder
over to
how many
Paloma.
department heads are
Thank
there.
you, Matthew. Good morning again, Chair, members of the board. Paloma Hernandez Barker, once again, Deputy Executive Officer with CEO Finance. As Matthew mentioned, we wanted to highlight a couple of the changes that departments are proposing for the upcoming fiscal year as it relates to their fees. First, Regional Parks is one of the departments who conducts market studies and comparisons to other jurisdictions. They are proposing to add new fees, which include fishing fees, summer and family passes, as well as holiday park entrance fees. This is in an effort to provide more options to our constituents. Next slide, please. Additionally, one back. Thank you. Additionally, Regional Parks is also recommending to revise some of their existing fees. And I would like to note that while these proposed changes may not achieve full cost recovery, it allows the department to recover some costs while maintaining a competitive fee structure. Any questions so far? Okay, next slide, please. The Project and Facilities Management Department is proposing a slight increase to their EV charging station user fee, which reflects anticipated cost increases from electric utility charges. I'd like to highlight that there is existing language in the fee ordinance that allows the director of the department, in consultation with their CEO, to adjust the fee based on actual cost up to an amount not to up to an increase of 25%. Next slide, thank you. Land Use Services conducted a review of their fees related to land development, code enforcement, as well as planning. And in order to lessen the impact to constituents as well as the business community, the department is proposing to cap the increase at a not to exceed 8%. There is possibility that further increases may be needed in the future in future fee cycles. Other changes that Land Use is proposing includes the addition of new fees related to land development as well as code enforcement. Next slide, please. The Department of Public Health is another department that also conducted comparisons to other jurisdictions, and as such, the department is proposing to increase the federally qualified health center medical office visit fee. Sorry, that was a mouthful. To align with surrounding counties, and while it may not be fully, it may not achieve full cost recovery, it allows the department to recover a larger portion of the cost.
That's crazy though. It's going from okay. Federally qualified healthcare center medical office visits from $10 to $25. That's $15 increase to align with surrounding counties. And for consistency to with recommendations from San Bernardino County Community Health Center. Food worker certificates decrease from $24 to $22, reflect improvements in efficiency. Dang, that's kind of a lot. Public health from $10 to $25. We're gonna have to look into that a little bit more.
That provide in order to provide the service. And as you may recall and may be familiar with, SB 1383, Food Recovery and Organic Waste Diversion Program, Public Health is proposing to add a couple of fees to comply with this law.
May I interrupt you, Paloma? Sure. So if we strive for full cost recovery on the FQHCs, will we work towards having full cost recovery over time, or will we still remain under?
Yeah, if I could, so there's certain fees so the board direction through policy is full cost recovery. But there are certain fees that historically we have not gone after full cost recovery as a way to not burden the public with that level of cost. Both regional parks and public health, as Paloma mentioned, we do like cost studies to look at what other jurisdictions charge. Though we do those cost studies, we still ensure they're below the cost to provide that service, whatever we recommend the fee at, as a way to, in this case with an FQHC, ensure that it's still accessible to people who may need it without charging them what might be considered a pretty astronomical cost for them to access those medical services. So it's something we could talk about with the board, but this has been our practice and kind of in line with past direction received from the board.
This one in particular, Josh Dugas walked us through a little bit and even mentioned that even in accordance with state law, although we charge the fee, they have to provide the service regardless of ability to pay on one of these, and that's what state law even requires on these. So this is one where there are quite a few indigent folks that do come in for the service. This is a way of having them come in. He explained to get them signed up actually to Medi-Cal. It helps them to be able to charge and get some information based off of that. And so that's what they're trying to do with this fee.
Very good. Thank you.
That's kind of like standard
Slide,
practice for any
The
healthcare.
County Fire
Okay.
Protection District is proposing to add a couple of permit fees related to its hazmat division. Additionally, the district is also proposing to revise, to revise a portion of their community safety and hazmat fees. These changes range from an increase of approximately 1% to 8%, and it is primarily attributed to board-approved MOU increases. Next slide, please. Notable changes for special districts include fees related to the Big Bear Alpine Zoo, excuse me, which includes a slight increase to the zoo admission fees to help offset increases in operating costs. Of note, while these increases do not achieve full cost recovery, it helps the district offset some of the cost increases. Other revisions in the Big Bear Valley Recreation and Park District include increases related to room rentals and field preparation fees. Next slide. Additionally, Special Districts is also recommending to increase parking fees related to the North Arawanda Preserve. Similar to Big Bear Valley Park and Rec, while these increases do not achieve full cost recovery, it helps the department offset some of these costs. I'd also like to note that the department conducted market studies and market comparisons to other surrounding counties and entities to ensure that the proposed fees are comparable. And with that, this concludes our presentation. I'd like to open the floor for any additional comments or questions you
Thank
may
you
have.
very much.
I
And to the entire
just-
staff too. It's a lot of work. And I know it takes a lot of time to go in through it and even for our team to go through them all. So thank you very much for that.
Thanks so much.
Any questions or comments?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, thank you for all the hard work, and I really appreciate for parks looking at the holiday fee. I know when my family goes out to private vendors, an RV spot for during the week, off season versus a holiday weekend can be 5 or 6 times as much. And to see that, we want to make sure our park's full and accessible for all our residents at the same time, those peak periods that we're able to adjust for the holidays and weekends and stuff like that. So I think it's a way. We're still not getting we're not paying for everything, but it's a way to evaluate. And in the private sector or the private parks are like 10 times as much as what we charge anyway. So yeah, I like that. I also this is kind of fee-ish, but not really. It's a limitation on.
But I
things
think
we-
the point is that we're not trying to, or the government shouldn't be trying to collect as much money as possible from this, no matter what other counties are doing. I kind of am of the belief that that you should, provide the service as minimal cost as possible to accommodate all, all those who live in the area and who might want to buy the service. But I don't know. That's just me.
One of my constituents brought up that I know we allow people to live with a fee to live in a trailer while they build their home, but I don't know if there's any limitation on that. So sometimes those buildings get dragged on. So the way we could put on some of these fees that we're doing with, if we're able to put in time checks on those to make sure that progress is being made on the projects. So it's not just a permanent trailer encampment type of thing. That'd be wonderful. And lastly, on the green waste or whatever we're calling the new waste fees. I've watched this evolution from the legislature down to solid waste chair, whatever I was for a while. This is going to be a really impact to our residents. And literally, the state statute, if I'm not mistaken, requires us to inspect people's trash cans and make sure you're not putting your green waste in your trash can. And we're supposed to pay for that by fining our residents or that sort of thing if they're not doing that correctly. I really like to have an education campaign through our vendors to make sure that this is not us trying to be big government trying to come in and inspect. I mean, it's kind of spooky for me if someone walked through my trash cans, but nevertheless, that we're not doing this work.
Why
while
would
the
he
state
say
law and
that?
Put the attention back on those who put this law in. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Luther, any comments? Any thoughts?
Back in the days when I was an analyst, was responsible for fees for the county, and it is a huge amount of work, and I'm glad to not be doing that anymore. But I certainly appreciate all the work that staff and our departments put into getting to this point and the hearing 2 weeks from today. So thank you to staff. Thank you for all the work. And if there's any questions from individual board offices over the next few weeks, we'd be happy to work on working that into what we propose on the 25th.
Supervisor Cook has a comment or a question.
Veterans Day. Obviously, it's a very special day for a lot of different people.
Yourself
I think,
included.
at least on that day, if you're a disabled veteran, there should not be any charge whatsoever. For obvious reasons. So if we can take a look at that, I think they deserve special consideration.
That's
Oh, a
I'm
special
certain that your
consideration.
new director of Veterans Affairs would be happy to work with you on that. That's Matt Knox.
I'm sorry?
Matt Knox.
Oh,
Who
he
Matt
wants to work
Knox?
with me?
Yes, he does.
Okay.
And Matthew would be
boy.
happy to have him take that conversation.
Yeah, make
Absolutely.
sure
Oh,
there's a
boy.
psychiatric examination before.
Very good.
Thank you all. So it's a receive and file, and we do not have any public comments on that item today. So thank you both very much.
Thank you very much.
All right. With that, we have no further discussion items. We will move on to general public comment for items not on today's agenda. We have 2 requests to speak. Our first one is by Joanne Jenis,
Not bad.
followed by John Christiana.
Good morning, supervisors. Good morning, Kurt. On December 18th, 2024, Prop 36 went into effect. It's now the responsibility of our state, counties, and cities to implement this new law. There's a bit of obstacle with Prop 36. They failed to spell out the details of how the courts and other agencies would be enacting this new measure and how they plan on funding it. The governor's recent budget proposal does not provide funding specifically for implementing Prop 36. Has the board discussed how our county will fund the additional resources needed to implement this new law? Senator Seriardo, my district representative, brought to my attention by way of a social media post about a joint informational public safety committee hearing regarding Prop 36 that he spoke at. I watched this hearing because I had some questions on this new law due to my son's situation, which I'll explain later in my speech. Many panel speakers that represented different agencies discussed funding and resource concerns related to Prop 36 that they are starting to encounter. One speaker mentioned about a particular county having to delay processing those individuals waiting in jail for their treatment mandated assessments due to lack of resources. I've shared with you previously about my homeless, neurodivergent, drug-addicted son who's been arrested 25 times in a little over a 2-year period for possession of meth. Each arrest ended with him being cited and released after detained for a few hours. Although he's showing signs of mental health issues, he's not meeting all the requirements needed to qualify for the mental health programs. He is being seen by different outreach teams, but he continues to refuse their help. How do you get the many individuals like him off the streets and the help that they need? Currently, it looks like Prop 36 might be the only way. Here's the latest update on my son, December 26, 2024. And March 7, 2025, after Prop 36 went into effect, my son was arrested again for meth possession. He was cited and released without any convictions given. I was puzzled as to why this was happening. What am I missing? Well, I recently found some information that stated that Prop 36, that a wobbler misdemeanor can be used as an alternative offense instead of a felony. Can someone tell me if that is the case with my son? Will he ever get off the streets? Will he accidentally overdose again on fentanyl while he's out there? I can only hope and pray that this crazy cycle ends soon, and if my son ever receives a third conviction under Prop 36, that the resources are made available to him and he chooses the treatment mandated option, and it consists of no less than a year-long in-house program with wraparound services to follow. I've heard really good things about Cedar House and River's Edge Ranch, and I would love to see him get into one of those. I know you can't force these people, you're gonna have to, but I'm telling you, SWAG is going above and beyond trying to get my son the help, and I'm trying to work with him. I encourage everybody to listen to that Senate hearing that was held on February 25th, 25. It was so enlightening. They had judges, they had DAs, they had public defenders,
That's
they had
time.
sheriffs.
Thank you very much. Our
Dang.
last request to speak is from John
They
Cristiano.
cut her off.
Good morning,
Good
sir.
morning. Thank you. Good morning, supervisors. I'm John Cristiano. I lived here in the county for about 7 years, and I'm here to talk about two things, actually. County agencies are putting the public at risk, I believe, or maybe it's just me, if you want to put that on the record. But the first thing is animal control, which is the county, and I'm a manager of an apartment complex, and we had tenants that were having dogs not on a leash, including a pit bull. And of course, according to our own ordinance, it's private property unenclosed, which is exactly the same as public property. Anyway, the animal control came out one time and did the right thing and cited them, but then they refused to learn their lesson. I called animal control a second time. The first officer said I could, and yes, we'll take care of it. But the officer that came out the second time did nothing and did not cite them and said you can't do anything for 30 days. Well, I was attacked by
Homie
the
really
dogs.
came to the board of supervisor meeting to not harass, but to just complain about landlord problems. Okay, this is pretty much done. So, nothing new with that. Other than the fact that there's new fee or potential new fees, but I can't find anything talking about them. Other than the little slideshow Matthew Erickson put up for us. So we need to find more unless it's going to be announced the night of, not night of, the March 25th, that that's when all the different fees will come out for the for the different county departments, but okay. So we can move on from that, and yeah, there literally was no meeting in February. That sucks. Let's watch this. Oh. Mm, yeah. Okay, so that's it from San Bernardino County. Let's get my notes here. So now this is a couple of different clips from Fox Business. Not really my number one go-to source, but you know, we're gonna cover it. We're gonna talk. Use it as a source because they are pretty credible source, or credible enough. Or at least something I want to share.
California screaming out. I do like that graphic, I gotta say. A new bill in California getting criticized for being pro-criminal. California gubernatorial candidate Chad Bianco joins me now. Sheriff, why do you think this bill, which narrows the criteria for justifiable homicide, why do you think this bill makes self-defense illegal?
Well, exactly what it says, and it certainly is it's going to embolden criminals. It's basically saying that if you are attacked by someone, or if someone attacks your family and your first response is to fight back, and for some reason, because of that person's actions, they end up injured and possibly die, you are going to be charged with murder. And it's basically removing the justifiable homicide from self-defense. And it defies common sense. It really does, especially in light of 70% of our state last year saying that we want a different direction in public safety than what we've been given by Democrats.
Why?
Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, hold on. A lot to unpack there. Let's first start by going over Chad Bianco. Um, he's been I guess he's a sheriff and coroner. I don't know. He's from Riverside County. Let's see what the website has to say about him. Damn, he's kind of jacked here. But okay. Chad Bianco elected sheriff and coroner. Okay, so I was right. Oh, sheriff, coroner, and public administrator of Riverside. So recently I heard a journalist talk about how it's kind of sketchy when the coroner is a sheriff and they have to investigate an officer related shooting or something like that. So it just kind of seems like conflict of interest, or they're like, here's my sheriff's badge and I'm flipping it over now, and now I'm coroner badge. So I'll pull that up right now, but just let's go a little bit over Chad Bianco. Sheriff Bianco oversees the county's 5 jail facilities, 6 court buildings, a civil bureau, the coroner bureau, public administrator's office, 12 patrol stations, 17 contract cities, 4,200 dedicated employees, and an operating budget of just over $1 billion. Okay. Makes sense. I mean, it's Riverside County. Sheriff Bianco is a member of the California State Coroners Association, National Sheriff's Association, blah, blah, blah. He's married with 4 children. They live in Westwood Crest area of Riverside. Sheriff Bianco believes in service above self and hopes that his priorities of God, family, and service will provide meaningful guidance and direction as the sheriff's office engaged in unprecedented change of culture to positively serve the residents of Riverside County. Interesting. Okay, so that's it. Let's look up some little news articles about him real quick. County sheriff wants to boost overtime. Extra duty pay could reach to $130 to $163 per hour. Interesting. The board of supervisor on Tuesday will consider Riverside County Sheriff Bianco's request to hike overtime extra duty pay rates charged for services at events countywide that will require the use of deputies and other personnel. The sheriff who was running for California governor in 2026, I see why he's on Fox Business now, and why he's getting himself everywhere sharing his opinion. He's running for governor. To be phased in. Oh, thank you, Tinker Girl. Same true for San Bernardino County Sheriffs. Okay, cool. Um, the last time the extra duty pay formulas were changed occurred in the fiscal year 22-23. The changes reflect the cost borne by the sheriff's department when deputies, investigators, crime scene technicians, even helicopter mechanics perform work outside of their normal schedules, such as for parades, fairs, festivals, and other special events. Okay, so I guess maybe they like didn't charge overtime for, doing county events. Okay, so they want overtime for that. I mean, that's okay. I'm not gonna knock it. I mean, get your coin. Um, the cost of for patrol deputy who works extra hours outside of his or her customary assignment is $101.68 per hour currently. Under the revised overtime pay schedule, the rate would jump up to $118.08 as of May 1st. The rate would then be increased gradually until peaking at $130.19 per hour by February 2027, according to documents posted by the board's policy agenda for Tuesday. Okay, so I mean, it just sounds like kind of like a raise. I mean, everyone deserves a raise. Not gonna, say too much on that, but let's continue. So now that we know that Sheriff Coroner um Chad Bianco is planning to run for governor in 2027 or 6. I don't know I know Kamala Harris has some ideas to run for governor in California, so that seems like kind of not a good matchup, at least in his favor, but we'll have to see what else. Anyways, let's continue hearing about this self-defense legislation that he's covering.
Why do you think this is being proposed? I mean, have a guess. Why are they trying to do this?
I can't guess. I can't even say because it defies common sense. It makes absolutely no sense why you would. It furthers their love affair with criminals, that they just want to embolden criminals and allow criminals to do anything they want. It's almost like they're attempting to cause chaos. This is basically if you are confronted, you have to run away. You just give them whatever they want, you give up whatever they want, and you run away. And if you don't, you are going to be held liable.
Let me take this further. Somebody runs up to me, hits me in the face. I don't like it. He runs away. I chase him down. I clobber him. I injure him. I'm responsible? I'm liable for this? Is that how it works?
Yes, if you don't run away, if your first instinct is not to run and your first action is not to run away from this confrontation, if you stay there and allow the confrontation to happen and you punch him in the face, he falls over backwards, hits his head, and unfortunately dies because of his actions, you're going to be held responsible.
Pathetic. What happens if he chases you down?
Well, that's what's going to happen. They're claiming that in a last resort, if it's an absolute last resort and there's no more escape for you, then you can fight back.
Okay, I'm still shaking my head at this, but Sheriff Bianco, I know you're a gubernatorial candidate in California. Maybe you can straighten these things out for us. Thanks very much for being on the show today and explaining what on earth is going on in your state. We'll be back with you.
Yeah, it's hard to explain, but thank you.
But thanks for being on the show.
Okay. Hold on. I want to look up. I try to find out what that bill is. Self-defense bill, California. All right. So we're looking at Cal Matters, which is a pretty good source of news. Let's see. Okay. Came out March 7th of this year, so just a couple days ago. Los Angeles Assembly member Rick Spur says he wants to narrow the standards for justifiable homicide. Critics say that he wants to make self-defense illegal. Assembly Bill 1333 has provoked a great deal of debate since its introduction in late February. In response to several states' stand your ground laws, which permit people in certain cases to use deadly force in self defense. I'm thinking of Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin. That was Stand Your Ground, I believe. Um, that was so many years ago. Spur's bill seeks to codify certain circumstances when homicide is not justifiable. Those circumstances would include when a person was outside their home and knew that using deadly force could have been avoided by safely retreating, engaging in mutual combat, or knowingly provoking a person through this provision, though this provision has some exceptions. Um, Spur, a Democrat, told me his proposal doesn't run afoul with California's castle doctrine, which allows people to use deadly force in defense and to defend themselves in their own home. Rather, it seeks to address gun violence and the rising instances of armed vigilantism in the U.S. I mean, you can't argue with that. You know, we don't need part of the reason living in a democracy, or one of the benefits of living in a democracy, is that we have people to enforce the law, and and it's kind of their job to do it. We kind of, as Americans, we relinquish our right to just do what we want, aka if someone comes up to you and hits you in the head, um yeah, you have a right to hit them back, I guess, but you know, um yeah, I think they do want us to become like Texas or Florida, because like I really don't know, I don't know how many instances there's been where people use the stand your ground laws, or they, I mean, think about in Kenosha with what was that kid's name? Kyle Rittenhouse. There could be very well a case made that he was out there looking for something to get provoked about. um I mean, we can argue about that later, but you're going into a protest that has possibly not turned peace I mean, that is possibly not peaceful anymore. You're walking into a protest with a gun. I don't know what else you could expect to happen other than to use that gun. And what are guns used for? Harming people. So, it could be interesting. I mean, it is interesting to see legislation come forward to kind of prevent this, but knowing that, you know, you can't really make laws, to like, you have to make, the government has a right to make law to, protect its citizens, and if it's like, not if it's a serious issue, and if there was no other way to get around this, I don't know how justifiable it is. So we'll see. Let's actually look at the Assembly Bill 1333. Existing law defines homicide as the unlawful killing of a human being or a fetus. Interesting. With or without malice, or malice aforethought as specified. Existing law establishes certain circumstances in which homicide is justifiable as specified. Um, by expanding the scope of crime of homicide, this bill would create a state mandated local program. The California Constitution requires the state to reimburse local agencies and school districts for certain costs mandated by the state. Okay. Statutory provisions establish procedures for making that a reimbursement. This bill would provide that no reimbursement is required. by this act for a specific reason. Well, yeah, I don't know how you can uh, even enforce that. Like, hmm. This bill would eliminate that provision. The bill would also specify circumstances in which homicide is not justifiable, including when the person was outside their habitation or property and did not retreat when they could have safely done so. When a person used more force than a reasonable person would defend against a danger, and when the person was the initial aggressor. However, the bill would specify that homicide is justifiable if the initial aggressor actually, in good faith, tried to stop fighting and indicated they wanted to and tried to stop fighting. Okay, so like, man, what do they have to like verbally say? I'm not trying to fight you. I just want to get away. Like that's kind of, I mean, it's complicated. It really has to be on case by case basis, like I said, we have the we had where George Zimmerman, kind of followed someone because he was afraid, but like why didn't you just go away or leave, get yourself away from the person who you thought was threatening you? And then, you also have like the circumstance where, like I brought up with Kyle Rittenhouse, like, did he go there in good faith? Did he did he have the intent to use his gun? Was he looking for a reason to use his gun? Was he, yes, there defending property? Like, is that his responsibility to do that? Again, that's why going back to, that's kind of a vigilante thing. Should we allow that in a democracy like America? So we'll see where this goes. I find it interesting that what was homie's name? Sheriff Mark. Mm, hmm. What was his name? Man, they don't even have his name on when he's being interviewed.
If you are attacked by someone or if someone attacks your family and your first response is to fight back,
Sheriff
and
Chad
for some
Bianco.
reason, because
Sorry,
of
I
that
don't know
person,
why I blinked out and started calling him Mark. Chad Bianco. He's a Chad. Chad. Okay, got it. Yeah. So crazy. Next clip I wanted to go over is another Fox business clip. Mm.
Workers in California could soon have the right to ignore
Man, this
calls
guy,
and messages from
he
their boss
really
after
likes.
their workday ends. A new bill would also fine employers who violate the rules. Joining me now is Katie Grimes. She is the editor-in-chief at the California Globe. Katie, I've heard the arguments
Okay, we need
for
to
and
look into
against. I want to know
California
where
Globe real
you
quick.
stand and why.
Hi, Stuart. This is clearly a bill in search of a problem. We don't have a problem with employees not being able to work or have private time. All you have to do is shut off your phone if it's really that big a problem. And this is another example also of our California legislature making rules that they can't even live up to themselves. They're very, very well known for keeping their employees on a very short leash morning, noon, and night, and late into the night.
Is this at the moment just a proposal, or have they actually passed it?
No, it's just a proposal still. It has to go through the committee process. But I do think it's an example of why we should probably have a part-time legislature. As I said, this is not a problem other than we all are connected 24/7 these days anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Gavin Newsom is the governor of California. He's got until the end of June to close the state's $73 billion deficit. Do you have any idea how he's going to do that?
What? Hold on, we gotta look that up. I mean, not that I doubt,
No.
but it's just like
The $73 billion deficit just keeps growing. What's so interesting about this also is that this is the governor that took in billions and billions of
okay,
COVID
well, I guess I
money
would be
during
have
the
to
COVID lockdowns.
explain
and
deficits because
instead created all
that's
kinds of
kind of
new
how governments
programs
work.
and sent it off to NGOs and
But whatever.
nonprofits rather than using it
It's just
for
weird how they would frame it like
Californians'
that.
existing programs to help the people who needed it the most, as well as hopefully address the homeless problem we have on our streets.
But why is he so popular? You've got this huge deficit, high poverty rate, very high taxes, and yet, I mean, if the election were tomorrow, he would become the governor of California all over again. Why is he popular?
Well, this is a one-party state, and we've been that way for quite a while. He does not have any challenges in our state. I do think, though, if you saw him on the national stage, since he's never really been challenged before that way, it would be a whole different ballgame. I don't think he would show as popular nationally at all.
Do you ever think that in my lifetime, give me 5 or 10 years, we'll ever see a Republican elected to statewide office in California?
Stranger things have happened in this state before. We call it Crazy-fornia for a reason.
I don't understand. He already had a Republican run California in his lifetime, and that was Reagan. No way you're gonna tell me that this guy was not around when Reagan was governor of California. Maybe he was still in, you know, I don't want to assume his ethnicity, but maybe he was still in Europe, you know, like the UK. And I guess I he didn't know. But I guess, you know, what happened? Margaret Thatcher. She was there. Okay. So I think the California Globe is a media outlet that has pretty conservative leanings. I think they are kind of marketing themselves as a conservative news source. So I mean, that's cool. Let's see what they wrote about the governors, at least which people Republicans are going to be running for governor, or what the Republican options are looking like. Democrats are going to have a lot of options in the gubernatorial primary. Gubernatorial. Next year. Currently, they have Lieutenant Governor Line, I don't know, former Congressman Katie Porter, Superintendent Tony Thurmond, Senator Tony Atkins, former State Controller Betty Yee, and former Los Angeles Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa. I can't believe homie just needs to retire from politics. But, I mean, as all official candidates, and this isn't even complete yet, developer Rick Caruso again, he didn't run out of money from the recall election. Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. We did have a Republican governor with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't know. I want to say I don't know if he had, you know, if it was like classified as a red state. No, I don't think it was classified as a red state at that time. But I don't know if he had like majority of Republicans in state senate and state house or okay. So anyways, developer Rick Caruso and former Homeland or no, HS Security Javier Becerra. Why does that name sound familiar? Hold on. Former Secretary of Health and Human Services. Javier Becerra. Okay. So he's the U.S. Secretary for Health and Human Services from 2000 to 2025. Huh. Oh, he was. Never mind. RFK replaced him. Dang. RFK with the yeah, man. Okay, okay. That was disappointing. Okay. Anyways, so Javier Becerra is apparently going to be running for governor of California. And then let's not forget the elephant in the room, Kamala Harris. A lot's riding on Harris's decision, which will come by the end of summer. Her run could influence a decision to run for president in 2028 or 2032. I mean, I don't know if she would run again. Um, if I was her, I wouldn't. I would be uh, pretty upset. Like, I would be a woman scorned if I was Kamala Harris. Um and if she joins in, many candidates have say they would dip out. Both Porter and Kowal, sorry, I'm sorry, Polish homie, I'm sure you're Polish, have said they would withdraw in favor of her running, with others likely to follow suit. Harris has a commanding lead in most Democratic polls, with Porter either a distant second or being a few points above Harris. Okay, let's hear about the GOP candidates. The GOP in California has a bit of a hot streak in recent elections, growing their presence in the state assembly and Senate for the first time in decades. Okay. In addition, Trump has brought the best showing of a national Republican in California since George Bush was reelected in 2004. Oh, okay, okay. So, AKA, um, no Republican has done as well as Trump has since George Bush was reelected in 2004. There's no question that the party's bouncing back to some degree in the Golden State, but not having more big names come out as candidates in the 2026 race has been a bit of a drag for Republicans and moderates hoping for an alternative to a Democrat winning again. One possible place for potential candidates are from current and former House members. All have at least somewhat known names, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Who even quoted there? The Harris decision will be big news this later. Okay. Not gonna lie, it's kind of California Globe's kind of boring. But I only read one article so far. All right. So last thing I wanted to cover for tonight, um, was I just wanted to look through the subreddit, the Inland Empire subreddit. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's quickly cover Gavin Newsom. Um, I really want to know what everyone thinks about his podcast, where he seems to just be having conservatives on, which is kind of, okay, I get it. He wants to foster debate, but it's like not really doing anything. I don't know if his goal was to kind of be the Joe Rogan of the left is in terms of podcast, but I don't think his podcast is doing as well as he hoped it was, as hoped he would be doing. So let's go over the Hill article real quick. Hopefully it don't ad block me out. All right, I guess let's watch it.
Supporters of President Trump on his new podcast, This is Gavin Newsom, including Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon. Newsom is one of the most prominent Democrats in the country and has repeatedly been floated as a potential 2028 presidential contender. So why is the governor of one of the bluest states in the country reaching across the aisle to sit down with some of the most conservative influencers? Well, in reaching out to Bannon and Kirk, Newsom could be positioning himself as a more moderate Democrat and getting in front of a more broad, ideologically diverse audience. The strategy is also reminiscent of one used by former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, who's also been floated as a 2028 presidential contender. During his 2020 presidential run, then South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg employed a strategy of literally going everywhere, appearing on conservative and liberal outlets in an effort to build his national brand. But the governor's critics, particularly on the
But okay, so why I think that worked for Mayor Pete was because he's very good at like that kind of debating type thing. He gets some good zingers in. I think Gavin Newsom is not that guy. Gavin Newsom is a celebrity, and he should not be having to talk with these people. Um, you know, I don't know. I don't see what the point of his podcast is other than to just promote himself. But I mean, it's not working because he's not getting the numbers that I think he wants.
left say the move is self-serving and opportunistic and only serves to platform Kirk and Bannon. However, the governor's supporters say that Kirk and Bannon already have huge platforms. Newsom's move into podcasting is also reflective of President Trump's 2024 campaign strategy when he used the rapidly growing medium to reach younger voters. And let's not forget, Governor Newsom sat down with President Trump earlier this year in the Oval Office in a bid to secure aid for the Los Angeles area wildfires. Newsom later told CNN that the meeting was, quote, incredibly productive, and described his relationship with Trump as one of the most interesting in American politics.
Okay. Well, that was great. But yeah, I don't know how many other um at least not heads of state, but at least like politicians that are holding office have podcasts. Like, I don't know. I don't think Obama had a podcast, but I remember when Michelle had a podcast that was kind of interesting, but she like didn't have a, like active role in government at the time. Gavin Newsom does. I just can't help but wonder if, doing that is taken away from time that, he should be spending on the state. Um, you know, that's kind of the thing with America is that, we really depend on local governments or, local governments should be the first place you take issues or things that you want addressed. You're not just gonna go straight to the Supreme Court. You have to go, go to the different levels and stuff. And I it sucks that one of the ways that we hold our leaders accountable is by voting for them. And California has that interesting rule where they're able to do recalls on the governors. And we've done recalls on the governors so many times. I don't even, in my lifetime, I feel like there's been 3. I don't know if there's been recalls before that. But it's just like the last time Newsom was up for election was in a recall election. And now it'll be interesting to see what the California GOP has in mind because I don't know if anything they do will really stick, but definitely leaning into the Trump train would probably be the best bet because Trump definitely brings out more people regardless of party. You know, Trump brought people to the Republican Party. So I think that might be kind of what Chad Bianco's kind of doing, trying to get out there and make a name for himself. We'll see if he tries to like, do other little stints like that. But yeah, like this is just the name of the game in politics now. You like have to be a celebrity. You'd have to be in the public eye. You have to be sharing um your opinion all the time or hitting the certain talking points that you need to know. Um so yeah, let's end out the stream with just going over some fun comments. Everyone knows Newsom is planning a 2028 run for the White House. This article says he's using his podcast to position himself as a political moderate, but Newsom has two big problems. First, moderates tend to do poorly in party primaries. The party faithfully are the ones um uh First, moderates tend to do poorly in party primaries. The party faithful are the ones voting in the primaries, and they are further left or right of the general voting population. For any given politician, winning the primary is the hardest part. You have to beat dozens of contenders in the primary, but only one in the general election. That's true, but with primaries, that's when you get the chance to really flesh out a candidate and really like there's even polls that are done where it's like how would this person do against that candidate? How would, so there's a lot of things that are examined in the primaries. So I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing to be a moderate because that could be positioning yourself as someone who could do well against it could take away votes from the other side, but I think the whole point of primaries is picking the best person to put forward. So, but if he does get nominated, positioning himself as a blah blah blah, Newsom has been a vocal proponent of gun control, signing dozens of bills and even being the primary backer of gun control proposition. Control might be popular in California, but it's historically been a loser in national races. Yeah, but I don't know. That has some points that doesn't. Uh, someone said I'm fairly left leaning, and there's no way I'm voting for this asshole. Okay, he's already losing his base because of his current positions of posturing to the Nazis. He won't win the presidency. I tend to think that Newsom wouldn't have a good chance at winning the presidency just because he could be kind of an easy target. And what do I mean by that? I mean, he literally dated the one of the women that is now dating Trump's son, or her name is Kimberly Guilfoyle. I forget if she's married or um or dating. Okay, yeah, she was former first lady of San Francisco. Um um Kimberly and Guilfoyle, I don't know how to say her last name, is an American television news personality and former prosecutor in San Francisco and Los Angeles. She served as an advisor and led in the fundraising division of President Donald Trump's 2020 election. Presidential campaign, and is a nominee for U.S. ambassador to Greece in Donald Trump's second term. Guilfoyle studied at UC Davis and UC San Francisco School of Law, where she earned a JD degree, a law degree, I guess. And she became a prosecuting attorney in San Francisco and Los Angeles, California. She was assistant district attorney in San Francisco from 2000 to 2004. From 2001 to 2006, she was married to Democratic politician Gavin Newsom and was First Lady of San Francisco during Newsom's first 2 years as mayor of that city. She then was fiance of Donald Trump Jr. Oh, she was the fiance of Donald Trump Jr. from 2021 until they separated in 2024. Oh, that sucks. I'm so sorry, Donald Trump Jr., that, you guys got separated. Ugh. Um, all right. It's kind of, let me see what else is interesting on Reddit. Mm, let's see. OC registrar. There. Oh man, let's see if I'll be able to even read this article. No, this article is available only to subscribers. Okay, we can look at it. Um, lightning in Ranch Munga from Etowanda Hills. Wow, that's pretty impressive. I was driving up the 210 freeway a while back around 3 a.m. and told myself if I see lightning one more time, I'm going to drive to up a local hill and hopefully capture something. Once the lightning struck, again, I rushed up and discovered I didn't have my tripod with me, so I improvised by taking off my jacket, blah, blah, blah. Cool. That's a really cool picture. There was a lot of rain and crazy weather this past week. But summer's coming, I'm sure, so mm, all right. I think we should just call it. It's we'll get more stuff done next stream. I just wanted to be more consistent and get off on be sure to cover that recent board of supervisors meeting. But all right, everyone, have a good night and we will see you hopefully soon. Maybe next week or I do have a video that I'm working on covering the one of the recent protests at the Tesla dealership in Upland. I got a chance to go and do some interviewing of people there, so I plan to make a more formal video about that. So be on the lookout. All right, everyone have a good night.